The rain had not stopped for 2 days. It fell hard against the metal roof of Lena's small food stall at the edge of Ironshade City. The sky was dark and the streets were empty. Most people had left the area weeks ago. A military base had been built nearby, and drones now delivered food to the soldiers and workers. No one came by for homemade cooking anymore. Lena stood behind her stall, wiping the same counter again and again. Her soup pot was full, but there were no customers. Her hands were cold. Her heart felt even colder. I guess no one's coming. Tonight, she whispered to herself. Just as she was about to close for the night, she heard a strange sound. It wasn't thunder. It was deep-like. Something heavy had fallen behind her stall. Her body tensed. She grabbed a small kitchen knife, her heart racing. Slowly, she walked to the back of the stall and looked down the alley. What she saw made her freeze. There, lying between 2 trash bins, was a huge creature. It looked like a dragon, but not like the ones from the fairy tales. This dragon was Reland hurt. Its long body was covered in green scales, but many were cracked and broken. One of its wings was bleeding, the other was torn, its tail curled tightly around itself, like it was afraid. Lena stared. She had only ever seen dragons in books and history shows. Most of them had gone back to their own worlds long ago. The few that stayed didn't come to poor places like this. The dragon lifted its head slowly. Its eyes glowed faintly golden. And tired, it spoke. I mean no harm, the dragon said, its voice deep and heavy. Please don't be afraid. Lena's grip on the knife loosened. She took a shaky step forward. You can talk? She asked. Yes, the dragon said. I am Kale. I used to be a sky guardian. Now, I am nothing. Lena looked into his eyes and saw something she didn't expect. Pain, hunger, sadness. You hurt? She asked. Kale nodded once, and hungry, very hungry. I haven't eaten in many moons. Lena's heart twisted. She had grown up poor. She knew what hunger felt like. She couldn't leave him like this, not even if he was a dragon. Wait here, she said gently. I'll get you something warm. She rushed back to her stall, her hands moving fast. She grabbed a big bowl and filled it with hot vegetable stew. It was her mother's old recipe. Thick, full of carrots, potatoes, and soft spices. It always made people feel better. Carefully, she carried it back and placed it in front of Kale. The dragon sniffed it, then looked at her. You share your food with a beast? You're not a beast, Lena said. You're hungry. That's enough reason. Kale took a bite. Then another. Soon he was eating with slow, grateful motions. When he finished, he closed his eyes and breathed out softly, like he had just tasted peace for the first time. Thank you, he said this. This is more than food. It is warmth, memory, home. Lena sat on a crate nearby. No one should feel alone in the rain, she said. For a long time they stayed in silence. The rain kept falling, but Lena no longer felt cold. Something had changed. She didn't know what yet, but deep inside her heart she knew one thing. This dragon had not come here by accident. Lena woke the next morning before the sun rose. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. The air smelled of wet earth and cold metal from the nearby base. Her old blanket was wrapped around Kale, the dragon. He had fallen asleep beside. Her food stall curled tightly like a giant house cat, though his size could crush a car. She watched him for a moment. Even in sleep, he looked tired. His scales were dull and scratched. His wings were still broken, but there was something soft in his face now, like the stew had warmed more than just his stomach. Lena yawned and started her fire for the morning. She had a little flour left and 2 eggs, enough for pancakes. She worked quietly, mixing and cooking, the smell of sweet batter floating through the air. Kale's eyes opened slowly. He sniffed the air and lifted his head. You are cooking? Again, he said. I always cook in the morning. Lena smiled. Hungry again? Dragon gave a small nod. She made a bigger batch and brought over a pan full of warm pancakes. Kale sniffed one carefully, then took a bite. His eyes widened. "This is soft," he said, "and sweet, like clouds and dreams." Lena laughed. "It's just food, something I've made since I was little." "No," Kale said. "This is more its care, in a form you can eat." He ate slowly, enjoying each bite. After the meal, Kale sat up straighter. His voice grew stronger. "I was not always like this," he said. Lena listened as he told his story. "I once flew above stars," Kale began. "I led fleets, protected worlds, but war changes everything. I lost my soldiers, I lost my rank, and I was blamed for a mistake I didn't make. I ran, I hid. No one helped me, not even my own kind." Lena's heart ached as she listened. Had seen war too, when the base came to her city. Many lost jobs, homes, even family. People disappeared. People were forgotten. Kale looked at her. "Why did you help me?" Lena blinked. "Because you were hungry. Many saw me before you. None helped," he said.
Why are you different?
Lena thought for a moment. Then she said, "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. Now I help others. That's all." Kale lowered his head in respect. "You fed more than my belly. You fed the part of me I thought was dead." Just then, a soft humming filled the air. Lena stood up. The ground began to shake just slightly. A low rumble came from the sky. Kale's eyes narrowed. Something's coming. Above them, in the cloudy sky, dark shapes began to appear. At first, 1, then 10, then dozens. Flying machines shaped like metal dragons. Then came ground vehicles rolling through the streets from the far end of the city. All of them heading toward Lena's small stall. Kale stood quickly, his wings flinching in pain. "I must go. They are here for me. They will destroy everything." Lena shook her head. "You're not alone anymore." She stepped in front of him, her hands shaking but firm. "Let them come. I'm not afraid." Kale looked down at her, shocked. "You would protect a fallen dragon?" "I would protect a friend," she said. The sky grew darker as more ships arrived, but Lena didn't move. Kale, for the first time in years, felt something returned. Pride, strength, hope. He stood tall beside her, eyes glowing brighter than before. "They will not expect kindness," Kale said softly. "No," Lena replied. "But they'll smell pancakes." Lena woke up early, just as the first light touched the rooftops of Ironshade City. She stretched, stepped out of her small home behind the food stall, and felt the cold morning air. She smiled as she remembered Kale the dragon who had eaten her stew the night before and fallen asleep near the alley. He had looked peaceful for the first time. She walked toward the alley with a new bowl of hot porridge. But when she turned the corner, she stopped. Her eyes grew wide. Kale was not alone. The street was full of dragons, big dragons, small dragons, old dragons with white horns, young dragons with shining wings. All of them stood quietly, like statues, their heads turned toward her tiny food cart. Some stood on the rooftops. Others landed in the street, folding their wings gently behind them. Lena's mouth dropped open. There were hundreds, no thousands. Kale stepped forward from the crowd. His green scales looked brighter now. His wings looked healed. He stood, taller, prouder, like the pain he carried was lighter. He bowed his head. "Lena," he said, "I told them." "Told who? What?" she asked, still trying to understand what she was seeing. Kale looked at the gathering of dragons behind him. "These are soldiers of the Sky Flame Order, my kin, my people. Warriors who have fought across galaxies. I told them about the girl who gave me soup and gave me hope." Lena blinked. "I didn't do anything special. I just fed you."
Yep.
"You did more than that," a voice said. Lena turned to see a tall, red-scaled dragon walk toward her. His armor shined like fire in the morning sun. His eyes were wise and sharp. "I am General Valor," he said, "leader of the Eastern Flame Guard. When Kale was lost, we thought we had lost one of our greatest, but you reminded him of his worth. You gave him back his spirit. You made him remember who he was." Lena didn't know what to say. Her hands were shaking. "I just made food," she whispered. General Vaylor nodded. Exactly. You gave kindness without asking for anything. That is something warriors respect. That is something dragons never forget. Behind him, a young dragon stepped forward. Please, can we try the soup? And just like that, all the dragons began sitting down, lining the streets, rooftops, and sidewalks. One by one, they waited. Not with force, not with fire, but with respect. Kale stepped beside her. They don't want money. They don't want power. They want your cooking. I want to feel the peace I felt. Lena looked around at the rows, and rows of dragons all waiting patiently. How many are there? She whispered. Double quotes, 20,000, Kale said with a soft smile. Her eyes widened. I don't have enough bowls. We can help, said the red-scaled general. We brought supplies. We brought hands. You lead, we follow. Lena took a deep breath. Then she stepped behind her food stall, tied on her apron, and grabbed the biggest spoon she had. All right, she said. Let's make breakfast. All morning, she cooked. Dragons brought water, fire, and vegetables. Others chopped and stirred under her direction. Big claws handled small spoons with care. Laughter filled the streets as the sun rose higher. The smell of soup, bread, and fried rice filled the air. Lena looked up at the sky filled with wings and the street filled with warriors, and she smiled. She had fed one dragon. Now, 20,000 waited for her food, and somehow it felt right. Lena's life changed faster than she ever expected in just a few days. Her small food stall had become the center of something big, something no one in Ironshade City had ever seen before. It started the morning after she fed Kale, the wounded dragon. She had opened her eyes and stepped outside, expecting another quiet day. But instead, her street was full. Not full of people, full of dragons. There were thousands of them standing in rows. Wings folded, eyes steady. Some wore shiny armor. Others carried glowing spears. But they were not here for war. They were waiting for her food. Kale stood beside her, no longer tired or broken. His wings had healed. His voice was strong. You gave me life again, he said. And in our world, when someone saves a warrior's heart, they earn the respect of all warriors. Lena couldn't believe what she saw, but I just gave you soup. That soup reminded me I was not alone, Kale said. You gave me hope. Now, they come not for battle, but for peace. And for your cooking. Lena didn't know what to say. She had no plan for feeding 20,000 dragons. But Kale only smiled. You won't do it alone. That day, dragons and humans worked together. They brought machines from Kale's old fleet and turned her stall into a large open kitchen. They used big cooking pots, firestones, and solar stoves from the dragon ships. Lena taught them how to cut vegetables, how to stir stew without burning it, and how to flip pancakes. Some dragons had claws too large for the tools, but they tried their best. At night, they lit soft lanterns that glowed like stars. Dragons and humans sat on the ground, side by side, eating warm bowls of soup and laughing. Some even sang songs. From their homelands, one soldier with silver wings wiped his eyes after eating Lena's bread. I haven't tasted anything like this since my mother passed, he said. It feels like home. Word spread fast. Soon, diplomats from other worlds arrived. They were curious. Some were scared. But when Lena placed bowls of her stew in front of them, their faces softened. No one fights with a full stomach, Lena said with a small smile. Sit, eat, talk. Even the leaders who had not spoken in years began to share meals. Deals were made over dumplings. Peace was offered with pancakes. Kale stood by her through it all, never returned to battle. Instead, he became her helper, her friend, her protector. One evening, Lena looked out at the crowd gathered outside her kitchen. Thousands of dragons, humans, and alien beings. Some were once enemies. Now, they shared food like family. I still don't understand, Lena whispered. Why me? Kale smiled softly. Because you were the only one who stopped to care. Looked at a broken dragon in the rain and gave him soup. Lena nodded. And now I have the biggest restaurant in the galaxy. They both laughed. Later that night, Kale brought her a gift, a small book, bound in leather. Inside were recipes from dragon worlds mixed with her own. On the cover it said, "The Flamebearer's Cookbook. Food for Peace." She held it close. "Will they keep coming?" "Yes," Kale said. "As long as there is kindness in the pot." Looked up at the stars, where ships hovered like glowing birds, and she knew this was not the end. It was just the beginning. A new world was being built. One bowl of stew at a time.